If you're an Indiana taxpayer, you pay $64 a day to house an inmate at Wabash Valley Correctional Facility near Terre Haute. Each inmate's locked up for an average of 20 years. Well, just do the math and you're talking major money. How does $467,000 per inmate sound? It's a lot of cash. The state of Indiana is making some of that money back, and how it's doing so might surprise you.
Their choices now confine them. Confined to space, to a schedule.
Wake up, go to rec, go chow, go rec again, come inside, that's it. Wake up, do it over.
And in the midst of monotony, a little showbiz.
The public has this need to see programs about prisons.
The Indiana Department of Corrections has allowed production crews behind the barbed wire since 2000. MSNBC's Lockup spent several months filming at the Tri-State's nearest prison, Wabash Valley Correctional Facility. And these projects are only picking up steam. All major broadcast networks and several cable channels have since aired stories from inside Indiana prisons.
It's not like what you see in the movies. These programs give you a much more of a reality-based look at what's going on inside, and it gives us a chance to show the many things that we're very proud of in a prison setting. Turning a life around, opening an American Legion post, having a housing unit like this that does community service work.
4 production companies have filmed at Wabash Valley in the last year. All of their stories centered around the man who now lives here.
I take responsibility knowing that it's our fault that we were there. It's our fault that, that he has to live with that now. I don't think it's my fault my friend died.
Blake Lehman's friend, Danzel Johnson. He was shot and killed in October 2012 while breaking into a home in Elkhart, Indiana, near South Bend.
We thought no one was there. We knocked on the door. No one answered, so we went inside. Homeowner ended up being upstairs sleeping. He'd woke up, grabbed his gun, came downstairs, started shooting, and killed one of my friends. And then we were all arrested and charged with felony murder, charged with my friend's death.
Felony murder holds an accomplice responsible if someone dies during their crime. The case of the so-called Elkhart 4 sparking special attention. Most of them were underage. At 16, Lehman was charged as an adult and sentenced to 55 years in prison. He's now 18. With good behavior, he'll get out in the year 2040.
Do you believe you'll be here for 27.5 years?
No, I don't believe so. I think that's a lot of time, especially being 16, So I'm hoping through appeals and through the courts, I'll get some of my time back. That's the hope.
And that's why he's talking. Lehman's trying to appeal his felony murder conviction.
I want the word to get out there, not just our case, but, for future cases, for, politicians, people that can actually change the law.
Lehman's story's been featured on ABC's Nightline, Dr. Phil, even MTV, and was recently interviewed for the documentary No Place for Children.
We're really interested in juvenile life without parole sentencing, which America is the only country that actually sentences juveniles to those sentences. We're very keen to try to make a film that asks questions and gets people to really think about juvenile incarceration, not even necessarily from a sort of legal standpoint, but just from a moral standpoint as well, and where our responsibility as a society ends in terms of how we look after children.
Smoke and Apple Films and all productions pay the state to film in prison. The IDOC charges $5,000 a day. That comes to more than $32,000 this year. Almost $667,000 since 2000. Half goes to the central office, half to the facility filmed.
I'm excited because, our one project that we just did will help us get a new security key system. That's going to replace an outdated system. So it's going to enhance our security. Now I'll use a fingerprint to access my keys. So that's a vast improvement, and we probably would not have been able to do that without these types of productions.
Production revenue has also funded new chairs, paper shredders, and handcuffs, items typically ignored in tight budgets. Larson says eventually money could be donated to help victims of crime.
This last interview I did actually kind of addressed it and, said I apologized again, to him and said, like, I don't hold him responsible for what happened.
Lehman says he's done these interviews on his own free will and wasn't coached by his attorney to get a better shot at appeal. An appeal he desperately wants so he could be with his fiancée of 3 years in the outside world.
Now, you can't help but wonder, what about the victims? Trials are usually about the offender. So do these programs continue to make it that way? I reached out to the homeowner involved in Blake Lehman's case to get his thoughts, but I did not hear back in time for my report. IDOC spokesman Rich Larson tells me victims are notified ahead of any program airing that involves them. That way, they're not blindsided.